Hello. Good afternoon here, time zone in Europe. And for today, we will start with a specific panel that we call the challenge of hardening multi-edge cloud with open source power. This is the last panel, the last session for the second day of this Open Nebula Conf 2024. Remember, tomorrow we will have another day with some extra, and exciting content. Okay, let's go with this session, but will be very complete. I'm very excited about this panel. I think that we need a call for action, and securing the edge for today will be inside all the discussions among all these participants, people that is participating actively in the cloud security community around these different companies, around open source technologies. For this, we will present them, in the panel, but first inside, Carlos Fragoso from Maltigo, David Tripet from the Open Search Project, Linda Stick from the Cloud Security Alliance from EMEA, Yannick Wern from Clever Cloud, and myself on behalf of Open Nebula, Jordi Guijarro. Okay, let's go with the topic. And during these sessions, these days of this Open Nebula Conf, we are seeing how it's changing, the paradigm of the cloud computing from the previous one that we have a very centralized way to do things, with these large data centers and hyperscalers. Now appears the edge. In some next years, we will have a specific balance about all the workload. Okay, the edge computing now is rising some new business opportunities and no opportunities for the different communities, and so you can go or can be driving by open source. Now we will go with the technological challenges of the continuum, from the data center to the far edge. A lot of distance to cover, where you have to maintain these workloads that can be in VMs, containers, on different technologies, to go, to have new services, because we will be capable for deploying ultra low latency applications, have more user experience, expand our service availability of our services, and so on. But what about security? There is a specific challenge. Securing the edge, is something that we will know in depth today. And let's go with the panel and our main participants today. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now I think that we are all connected. Yes, for this, how we will go with this panel. The first block that we will go is a first introduction for each one. Okay, and we will follow a specific order. And after this introduction, we will go with the different questions in two main blocks. The first to see more or less the present of cloud security, and in the second block we will see details about the future and how our participants are predicting this near future about the technologies around the main topic for this panel. Okay, let's go with the first, Carlos from Maltigo, one of the products that are using maybe all the policies worldwide, more focused to OSINT, this open source, intelligence. Let's go with your first introduction, please.
Oh, thank you, Jordi. It's an honor to be here today, this conference with all of you, these top speakers of the panel. I mean, I have been more than 20 years in information security and working in different roles related with threat intelligence, incident response, forensics. And I have lived all times with let's say the all data centers, now the cloud. And I think I think one of the things I have been trying to do during my whole career is try to help analysts and investigators worldwide, trying to be able to find insights and try to accelerate their response to any kind of threat. And I think nowadays we are living in a really complex wave of criminals that are waving and making the cloud. That it seems that the cloud is insecure, but this is not the technology itself. It's about how we configure that, how the users are really using the services on top of them. So hopefully during today, I will try to give my opinions on that. So my company is providing a platform to investigate with many different data sources. So glad to answer any question on that.
Okay, thanks, Carlos. We'll continue, with David for OpenSearch, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm David. Today I'm here representing OpenSearch, and honestly, I'm so privileged to be able to be here and get to talk to you guys about security and specifically at the edge. OpenSearch is in a really interesting place because it's a search and analytics database. And for a lot of people, they might look at OpenSearch and say, oh, it's a search engine or observability platform. But turns out, actually, OpenSearch works really well as a SIEM and is the perfect place to, store all of your logs and do that analysis so that, real time, you're kind of being able to protect yourself. So OpenSearch integrates with a lot of the different open source security tools. And one of the really interesting things, because we're open source, there are actually a lot of open source security platforms built on top of OpenSearch, like Graylog. So really excited to be here, talk to you guys today about that a little more, and I'll hand it off to the next.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, David. Threat intelligence, now data analytics, with some behavior analytics, that you are okay, working on. Perfect. Let's go with Yannick. With Linda. With Linda of Cloud Security Alliance. Is the reference organization that you are providing a lot of tools to go with cloud security, from audit, with your matrix. The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
You already said a lot. So yes, hello. Thanks for having me in that very interesting panel with these very nice guys. Yes, Cloud Security Alliance is a global organization. We developed the first cloud security controls metrics for compliance and assurance. We have a huge registry with cloud providers where you can look at. We have a certification program for cloud providers that can also be used by enterprises to assess cloud providers. We have a huge program for education, which is also a very important part whenever you talk about security. There is a lot what people need to learn, and we have also quite interesting parts. So all the documents you can download for free, and we have 2 times a year the top threats document where people share their threats, and that's quite interesting also for a lot of people to see how to mitigate the risk, etc. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks. And now, yes, Yannick from Clever Cloud. Clever Cloud is disrupting, the authorization process. It's clear. And the floor is yours. Your mic.
Sorry. Good? Good.
Now, yes.
Is it good?
Yes, now, yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Yannick. I represent the Clever Cloud company in this panel tonight. And Clever Cloud is a cloud provider based in France, but we have a lot of data centers across the world in Canada, Dubai, and the Asia. And our company build a software called Platform as a Service. So we need a lot of security because we run the software of our client, and our client can be not that good for us. So we need to sandbox their application to avoid security breach and so on. And we have need a lot of tools to ensure the security of our platform.
Okay, thanks, Yannick. Now, after this introduction of the different speakers, you can see, we will go with a very good discussion. Let's go with the first topic to cover. Okay, at the end, we are motivated by open source. We're working in open source focused companies. And what about the open source and the security integration? Okay. You know that open source solutions offer transparency and community-driven improvements. This is clear. And the question here is, how do your community, users, customers are integrating now open source security tools, in cloud and edge infrastructure to enhance the defense? Okay. Let's go with Carlos first.
I would say the integration of open source security, open source solutions into government or private customers is challenging, because we have had in the last years a lot of cybersecurity attacks that have involved what we call the supply chain. So meaning that there are components, they can be very small, they can be more complex, but basically we're talking about software components that have been compromised by threat actors, sorry, and being abused by threat actors to have access to the customer environment in the cloud or on-prem. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges, I would say, we have nowadays.
Okay, supply chain complexity. No, it starts more or less the words that we are now discussing. Okay, let's go with David, for this question.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the really interesting things about working on a big open source project is we get to work with and contribute to and benefit from, a lot of the other work that's being done in open source. One of the ways in particular that OpenSearch users are getting access to that and are building on top of that is OpenSearch integrates with the MITRE ATT&CK framework and also with the open source Sigma rules, because one of the big challenges right now is there are so many different attack vectors that it's just really challenging to keep up with that. So by integrating with these frameworks and with these Sigma rules, we're able to really speed up, an organization's adoption, right? You get a very nice baseline of security, and then you can start building on top of that, because OpenSearch has an open, correlation engine, basically, which allows you to take advantage of those Sigma rules, take advantage of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, but then also build on top of that, specific threat correlations relevant to your specific business, which is very exciting. So yeah, that's how OpenSearch has been kind of handling that, and trying to help users, get up to speed as fast as they can.
Okay, perfect. Appears MITRE important, no? Not only open source, software. We are talking about, open, standards to follow, and best practices. Perfect. And now, Linda from the Cloud Security Alliance.
Thank you, John. You just gave me the right work, following standards and best practice. So there is one thing what we at the Cloud Security Alliance have done, that is develop that a controls framework for compliance and assurance. So you were talking beforehand, David, on, was it David? So yeah, I think so. On the supply chains. So what you have is a huge framework. And by the way, it also covers the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which is part of it, because it's standards and best practices. So there is 190 different controls. So if you look at those and you see you have to measure your risk and you have to measure the impact. So that is a tool which might help you to better understand what your security push should be and how it better works.
Okay, perfect. Matrix helping us. Let's go with Yannick from Clever Cloud.
At Clever Cloud, we are building a IAM system, and to make this system, we need a token authorization. So we use an open source token called Biscuit, and we chose this solution because we can understand what's inside the solution. There is a lot of token solution, but not all are open source. So you have a sort of black box that you can't understand totally. And because the Biscuit is totally open source, you can dive inside the code and understand firmly what's going on at each step, and maybe detect a potential breach in the security. And that's a very, very major benefit of the open source for the building of our IAM, which is totally built on open source bricks of software.
Okay, and Biscuit appear, not? This is something,
Yes.
a technology, that is very disruptive, and from Open Nebula, we are adopting some of the innovation projects that we are dealing at European level. See, perfect. It's clear, and now with all these tools, we have all the ingredients here are represented. We have threat intelligence through open source. Open source feeds. We have best practices and tools to audit. We have technology to to go with data analytics, and we have AAMs with a different perspective to go with authorizations. But with all of this, that our blue teams are using, and through open source they can go in another mature level. What about cyber threats, the cyber threats landscape? Because I think that we will have work forever, not in security. With this rising cloud cyber attackers, what specific types of cyber threats are you seeing more frequently, in your daily life? And Carlos.
Great. So I will say from my side, of course, there are some of these vectors or threats are not, let's say, specific to cloud security, but applying to anything. One of the big things are credentials. I mean, there is a big market of what we call initial access tradecraft. Means that people who are infecting systems to provide an initial access to any organization. Credentials and we see this is one of the big things that is happening nowadays, not only applying to cloud. If we move more to cloud-based solutions or providers, I will say the threat actors have a lot of interest in abusing the APIs. They are trying to carve or find out tokens or find out vulnerabilities or anything, or just exposure. We have seen recently in the media, like in the last weeks, like big exposures of data from customers that is data that has been not well protected. It's over there and is being found. And of course, that's not a problem of cloud. Probably the cloud is accelerating or exposing too much some of this data that was already exposed by other manners or other ways. But I think nowadays the criminals are especially interested in data and in credentials. I will say these are the two main things. And of course, we could be talking, but I want to give more also room to my colleagues to add things on top.
Okay, thanks, Carlos. I think that your word is data, and now the turn is open search.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm actually probably the least qualified to talk about this, so I'll just add a little comment. But especially because mostly from the platform side of things, like I'm not seeing every day what is going on in our customers' environments. But one of the things that I will say is the bar has been so lowered for the different cyber threats out there. For example, there's so much information on how these threats work that almost if you're not upgrading, if you're not keeping up to speed, if you aren't integrating some of these like open source stores of cyber threat information, you're going to fall behind very quickly because threat actors are very easily able to take advantage of these cyber threats. They script it, and their spread is huge with cloud technology. So yeah, with that, I'm interested to hear what Linda has to say because I'm sure you have a very interesting perspective on this.
Okay, Linda, it's your turn.
No, I don't have so to tell you the truth because we are just a non-for-profit organization, but we just collect threats from others, and we have all the big providers there. We have small providers, but what the major point is here. So I think like the platforms or the sharing of threats information is one of a very important part to make sure that you can help each other. Yeah? So I think that's something I would like to say. And the point is, I know that people have tons of work, so you have to continuous monitor regularly and deep dive with experts on forensics, etc., to those kinds of things. So that is that are my 2 cents. As I'm not that expert in the threats, but documents are there, and you had good points.
Okay, no, peer threat sharing, no, and there is a lot of challenges here. And the last, what do you think, Yannick, about this?
Clever Cloud is a platform as a service. So we have physical servers which run virtual machines, and each virtual machines will be an application of our client. So the major thread of our platform is someone that can escalate from its normal user to the root user and then escape from the VM and reach the physical server, and that's the end of the world if this arrive. But we have security experts which try to make the more esoteric technique to escape the VM, but it never happened. And we use also bug bounties to try to incite the clever men and women to try to breach our security, but it never happened since the beginning of Clever Cloud. So that's a very major threat of our platform.
Okay, thanks, Yannick, for explanation and for your experience, with services every day. Yes, and referring, I have not to say some brands here, no, or names, but yes, one of the main threats that will suffer in the private clouds, no, in the walls, occurs some months, years, last year ago, because at the end we are in around critical infrastructure, not only the use of hyperscalers, no, that in your case you have different responsibilities. Okay, and with this it's the turn to go with with the incident response and recovery. No, at the end we are prepared, we have tools, we are trying to prevent and detect in this case the intruders. But when it occurs, what about an effective incident response? Is essential for you. Can you share more or less your strategies, for incident response? In this case, in a multi-edge cloud environment, please. Carlos?
That's a very, very good question. Jordi. I would say the better way to be prepared for responding is be ready, and being ready is what we call incident readiness, because many of the customers that I had in the past who had breaches and had to investigate things find out the things that they were missing during an incident, the visibility they don't have, the evidence they lost, the processes that were not there, and I will say both at the especially if it's a big incident at the management layer and the technical layer, many of the things need to be defined beforehand, the roles and responsibilities, the different processes. So if we go more talking about the cloud environment, I will say that many people have adopted the cloud. In my experience with the cases I investigated in the past, they were not ready for an incident in their cloud provider. So you have to be ready, because it's not your environment, it's your data in other environments, and you need to understand how to apply the same processes you will apply if it was an on-prem system. Understand how to do it, and understand which are the process to obtain the evidence from your provider, and how to do everything. So I think it's in most of the cases, I will say that my best recommendation is incident readiness process. Talk with your providers, cloud providers, talk with your vendors to understand what are the capabilities that are there for responding, to contain, to recover. Very important to know how to contain and before something happens. And then, of course, this is a maturity process. You need to do it, and you will not go from 0 to 100 in 1 year. Probably will take some years to get to a good maturity level.
Okay, thanks, Carlos. Roles and responsibilities. Perfect. Let's go with David, an incident response topic.
Yeah, actually, there's so much to say here, and I think it's so hard because when it comes to incident response, I think like Carlos was mentioning, knowing what to do is almost more important than having the right data. Because if you have all the right data, but you don't know what you're supposed to do past then, you're going to be lost. So this is one of the things that I think OpenSearch is really has some interesting ideas and perspectives on, because OpenSearch's entire, security response framework is all based around rankings. Each security event by itself, a finding might not be particularly interesting, but a finding, paired with another finding, might all of a sudden be like, this is top of mind. Now we need to figure out what we're going to do about this. So it's really cool because, OpenSearch as a solution, can get you all the way from, that single thing happened to, okay, several things happened that are very concerning, to then you have to alert someone. So OpenSearch has an alerting framework to say, hey, now that we know something has happened and it's very dangerous, we need to tell someone. So that's reaching out to the person responsible, and then getting into what Carlos mentioned, having that person be able to know what to do. What did they escape, and are they an authorized user now on a box? What do you do? Do you just axe the box? Do you risk service downtime? These are all very challenging things, and you need to think about them beforehand, because if you respond in the moment, your chance of making a mistake, that allows that user to access more data than they probably should have is so incredibly high. So for a lot of companies, I've seen them set up, automatic mitigations. For example, if they see, enough strange user activity, maybe it's an unauthorized unsuccessful login several times, and then starts accessing resources they hadn't previously, they'd take an alert off of that, and then they'd build a service to take that account down temporarily until they can validate that that person actually was not or was authorized. So and I think this is also where it becomes challenging, because there's so much data, there's so many signals out there. You could alert on everything, and then your security engineers are going to be drowning, not knowing do I actually have to pay attention to this, or should I be paying attention to this? So yeah, it's very important to think through, where are your big attack surfaces? What is, what is non-negotiable for you? Can you, can you just disassociate that edge device, say, hey, you're no longer allowed to interact with our network until we've, validated that. And on the edge, it's particularly tricky because, maybe physical access to these devices could be challenging. So yeah, there's a lot to do there. And this is one of the areas I'd like to see open source kind of come in and help more, figure out, like, hey, how do we help these, security engineers prioritize which thing needs their attention. So
Okay, thanks, David. Automatic mitigation, is that we are, some people are dreaming of this, no, to be effective, and can sleep. Okay, Linda, please.
Yes, what I see is in general, it's quite often difficult because, and that's, I would really go to what Carlos was saying beforehand. So there need to be policies and procedures in place to see how you cope with these. And even for development of containers, etc., which has not been done or which long exist. So you always have the security by design principle you should follow, and you can't throw away all the old things. So you have at least to have a plan. You have to have to make sure that your business goals and the security requirements are met. So you have to translate those things together to the rest. To the security requirements and how you cope with that one. So a lot is that what I heard of, at least from banks, from partners of us, saying, so we want to see, when we ever do an assessment of a cloud provider, we want to see that they have a plan, a mitigation plan, a risk plan, etc. So I think that that's something which is very important to have. The policies, procedures, and the planning.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Procedure, security by design. Yes, and the last one, Yannick, for this, an incident response.
Yes, I will be the perfect follow-up of Linda because we are the cloud provider which is evaluated. So our response system consists in two things. The reactivity. When there is a software breach, we must be reactive in the mitigation of this breach. So if the libc is infected or there is a default in, you must be able to update all libc on all application of our clients. So you must automate this process. And we have a second response, but it's about very practical problems, like when the excavator dug in the wrong place and cut the network link of the data center. It's very practical, but if you don't make redundancy of the network link, you have two links, your data center is cut off the world. And it happens for us, for us. The data center was online, even the network link one was cut. So that kind of forecast of problem is the key, and that's the key for all things. If you lose a physical server, you have to be able to redeploy all the client application in another physical server and be able to migrate the database of our client in another server. So you must have a very reliable backup system of your database. So you must be able to automate your test and so on, so on. all the keys to forecast every problem possible and have a redundancy on all things to be able to mitigate these kind of problems.
Okay, thanks, Yannick. Forecasting, high availability, and I think that for this can introduce the next block and the last block for today. You know, we discussed more or less with different speakers about the present, no, and the current, problems that we have to rise. Let's go with this edge continuum. Here we have to imagine that the services for this near edge continuum vision is that will be, flexible, enlarged through the continuum. You have some of the workloads in the hyperscalers, in data centers that is through the 5G nodes, or maybe inside a far edge, in the forest. Okay, imagine the continuum, no? And let's go with the future trends and about the scalability and flexibility. Okay, for this, what do you think? Thinking about the cloud security, about the challenges or the future challenges, or the present challenges to cover this ambition, where the workload can be, not everywhere, it's controlled, but the orchestrators, remember Open Nebula, right here. But yes, let's go with this. And I have a present for you now is that following, a random algorithm, the terms are changing. Now, the first will be David from OpenSearch.
Thank you. I know I've just thrown a little bit, but no, this is good. I think one of the things here is just because you can scale doesn't mean you necessarily should. And, I mentioned this in the last section a little bit, OpenSearch scales to as many nodes as you need to, as much data as you need to. But if you don't understand the data coming in, and if you don't understand, what it's telling you, then you're going to have a real challenge. So I think this is important because, especially with edge devices, right? They're very chatty. A lot of times you'll have just huge amounts of them. So you can pull in all of this data, but if you don't have, the ability to read it real time, to be able to query it real time is also super important. And that's why it's interesting, a platform like OpenSearch, where people are storing security data, observability data. That means everyone can kind of be familiar with the same platform, and your observability folks are able to collaborate with your security folks. And that is that flexibility, being able to query the data and understand it in real time. So I think that's one of the really needed features of a platform. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, David. And now, Yannick.
I will be really short. We have a lot of logs from our application because each application will produce its own logs. So we must scale at the same rate of the application logs. So if you want to have a retention of around 1 year, if you have 10,000 of applications, it's not the same things that our 1 million of applications. So our system must scale to absorb this volume of logs.
Okay, thanks. And now, Linda.
Would come from another edge, because what I see, if you scale, you still have to consider security. And so what I see in the future, and which is in the US requirement, is following zero trust strategies and policies. So that you finally at the end are able to follow requirements, regulations, and also able to follow the scaling up. So zero trust says you never trust, you always have to verify first, and then you can just go forward, manage and monitor those. So this will usually go in line with privileged access in order to be sure that credentials, etc., will in the future safer.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Perfect. I think that we can, have a wrap up at the end, and for the final speaker for these future trends. Remember, Carlos.
Yeah, I will be short. I think at least from the Maltigo as an all-in-one OSINT platform, what we try to do is to help our customers to be able to have the visibility and accelerate their investigations. And I think one of the biggest trends is, okay, we want to have these global scaling capabilities, but we need to be able that the analysts can have the visibility, audits, review, the surface of exposure of those systems, and also being able to investigate at the same speed that criminals are also automating their processes. So because they're leveraging also AI and cloud technologies for their criminal activities. So hopefully we will be fighting back them as quick as possible. So will be my take.
Perfect. Now, we are okay. 41 minutes of the session. Perfect. I think that we can do more or less a wrap up for today. We have a lot of things to think about. To explore the different websites of the organizations that today are represented. Covering the different roles of cloud security. We saw use cases about data observability, data exploitation, threat intelligence, and how to, with this vision of the cloud continuum, we can follow, this data to be processed and to be analyzed, to be valuable for investigators, for security analysts, for people from the operational teams that now are being aware about the security of these services. Okay, and what about all the procedures, and tools, to audit constantly, all these systems and applications. Okay, I think that for today we can be very happy, not for the outcomes of this panel. And you have the last sentence, in the same order that we have in the lottery. One sentence only to conclude the session. Please, David.
Absolutely. Contribute to open source. That is my pitch. Go and contribute to open source, particularly in the areas of security. Find a place and get involved, because that is the way we're going to be able to have the biggest impact on the community. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. Welcome. And now, Yannick.
That's the same thing. Play with open source. Open source is really great. You can have a lot of good products on very tailored security in open source that you have difficulties to find in the closed source world. So open source is great. Do open source.
And Linda.
Okay, you are all the fans of open source. Yes, I fully agree with you. Open source is great. On the other hand, I would really encourage you, and that's what I learned from other companies. Take your colleagues into more education and try to bring them more, because I know everyone is over busy, but that education in security is very important. Don't miss that. Thank you.
And Carlos.
Okay. So last but not least, I will say sharing is caring. So we have demonstrated the last years that the way to put the bad guys into jail is sharing what is happening. Like not sharing with others is not disrupting the bad guys and having more victims. So please share.
Perfect. Thanks, Carlos. And now I think it is the end of this panel. Thanks for all your information, the insights, because it's very useful for us. As you know, we are a specific European project that is called IPCI-CIS about cloud and the future of the cloud and edge, providing new technologies based in open source. And thanks for this. We are checking some additional use cases, the way to think about these challenges, and let's build together and the community to have the next generation technologies around cloud and edge. Okay, pues see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.